it's Shannon again. I just kind of wanted to go over with you. Again, I'll be doing vlogs to help different situations and stuff with academics with your child, or even if you're a teacher, want to become a teacher, homeschool teacher, it doesn't matter. It's just tips that I have come across that have really worked that I want to share with you guys. So this video, I kind of want to share about sight words. A lot of times when we first started learning how to read, we learn about the alphabet, and then while we're learning about the alphabet, we're learning about sight words. And please remember that sight words are words that students or children or anyone should know on sight. So as soon as they see the word, they should know exactly what it is. A lot of the sight words that we use in our English language, we do not sound out the words. Like the is not really sound out. You can't really sound out THE. It's just, that's how they are. So a lot of times when we learn sight words, again, we're learning about the alphabet and the letter sounds as well. So a lot of students will sound out sight words when they are trying to read them. Now, when I teach sight words, I try to teach it in a fun way. I have used body spelling and I also have used body sounds, which basically means when I was teaching my son sight words, THE spells the, I kind of used it in a rhythm pattern. So that way he understood that THE spells the. But again, a lot of people have different ways. Children are different, so you have to figure out which way really works. I found out that a lot of times I was using sight words with flashcards. No, do not use sight words with flashcards. A lot of times when you do use sight words with flashcards, it is very hard for students or children to see the sight word on a flashcard and then try to see it in a sentence. It's really hard for them to make the connection. So why don't we just do it in the context? Really works. All right, so I'm going to show you two methods of how I usually use sight words or teach sight words in context. And what I mean by in context is actually seeing a sentence or seeing a book with the sight word in it. Okay? All right, this is the number one. Sorry. Now again, we are actually using the context, using sight words in the context. I have used, this is just regular sentence strips, and I have cut up the sight words that I am teaching to actually see it in the context. Now, of course, these are missing, so we are practicing the sight word. Usually I will have either if the child is learning how to read and actually is really good at reading, but they do not know how to recognize the sight words and are still sounding out the words, I have them read the sentence and then figure out which sight word actually goes with that sentence. If you have a young one that is learning how to read and also seeing the sight words, you may want to read the sentence read it itself, and then read the choices and see if they can figure out which sight words goes in it. Now, I only have 3 sentences. You do not want to have an overload of all the sentences and a whole bunch of sight words, especially if they're starting to begin. But as they progress, you may want to add more words. I would say probably the max would be 5 or 6 words. So again, they would read the sentence, I see blank dog. They will have to figure out, is it are, the, or when? And then once they figure it out, they can just place it in between. Now, I may have to cut that a little bit smaller, but you get the gist of it. And you want to, of course, praise them if they get it correct, and then talk about it. Why does this sound correct? I see the dog. Why wouldn't it be, I see our dog? Does that make sense? And of course, they're going to say, no, that doesn't make sense. So let them practice and let them read, or let them do it. Now, I have used sentence strips. Of course, I'm a classroom teacher, so I would use the sentence strips. But you can also use different other methods. Another method that you can do is you can get Manuscript tablet paper. You can get this probably at Walmart, any other places. I think Dollar Tree may have some as well. It's just your regular line paper, especially if your kids are just learning how to read. So you don't have to use sentence strips and cut them up. You can actually just use regular paper and sticky notes. Perfect. Sticky notes, you can just go ahead and take it off and do the same concepts. I see the dog. And they can remove it and stuff, and you can practice later on. I mean, it's a really good tool to actually use. You can even probably have them quiz you just to make sure that they understand exactly what they are doing. And if they understand the sight word, or if they know how to read the sight word, or spell the sight word. You can actually do this with any other way. You can use regular notebook paper if you want to. You can also use construction paper if you want to. But make it fun, engaging, and hands-on. All right, so the second thing that I do for sight words and seeing it in context is using a book. It's so easy to use a book. Just a regular book. You don't have to use a chapter book. You don't have to use a large book. You don't have to use a really big, thick book. It can just be a regular, simple picture book. And you don't even have to use the whole entire book. Just use a few pages, or during reading, you may want to say, hey, do you see this sight word? And that kind of helps them to understand and actually read it and see the sight word inside the text. Keyword in text sight words. All right, so this one is Big Shark, Little Shark, and it's a level 1, and I'm kind of just skipping pages. But again, while you're reading it, I don't know if this, I hope this is not backwards. I just realized this, but you can actually just have them, while you're reading, point out the sight word. Before you're actually reading, just say, hey, we're going to look for the sight word, the. And so every time you come across the, you need to either put your thumbs up or stop me or know that you're doing the. I have done this with my son, and he thought it was so fun and so cool because, one, he's paying attention to the words and not just the pictures. And two, he wanted to make sure that he got to the word before I did. It was kind of like a competition thing, but he really, really, really enjoyed it. So again, you can do that, or you can do it to where if you're cooking or doing something other than actually reading it, and they are reading it, and you're like, hey, I want you to get this book, and I want you to get a pencil. And you, either a pencil or a highlighter, it's up to you. And especially if you don't mind, like an older book or a cheap book, or, I mean, any type of book, if you don't mind actually being marked into, you can have them say, hey, can you find the word is in this book? And they can actually look. They may not be reading it, but they're actually looking for that particular word. Those two letters, I-S, is inside the story. That is a good way to actually test them on their sight words, especially if they've already been practicing it and actually seeing it in context. So hopefully that kind of helps you with sight words. Do not just use flashcards. Now, flashcards, I'm not saying that they're bad or that they're that you shouldn't use them, you know, but there are other ways to actually get your child to understand sight words and see it in context. So when they are reading, it's not hard for them to connect it, and they're not struggling to having them sound it out because they don't know that particular word or sight word. So hopefully you like this vlog and you can actually use it with your child or in your classroom or however you want to. And also, hopefully you like our page, share it, share this video. Love you, and education is so important. All right, bye you guys.